The Who's down in Who Newville were making their list, but some didn't know Walmart has the best brands for their gifts.
What about toys? Do they have brands kids have been wanting all year?
Yep, Barbie, Tony's, and Lego. Gifts that will make them all cheer.
Do you mean they have all the brands I adore?
They have Nintendo, Nespresso, Apple, and more.
What about...
So the Who answered questions from friends till they were blue. Each one listened and shouted, from Walmart? Who knew? Shop gifts from top brands for everyone on your list in the Walmart app.
At Lowe's, before the holidays is the perfect time for upgrades and upkeep. During Black Friday, get up to 50% off select major appliances and buy more to save more with up to an additional 25% off when you bundle select major appliances. Plus, grab select DeWalt 20-volt max drill or impact driver kits for just $99. Lowe's. We help, you save. Valid through 12/3. Selection varies by location. While supplies last. See Lowe's.com for more details.
Hey there, fictional friends, and welcome to another episode of Fully Booked. I'm Megan.
And I'm Shirin.
And it is our last Friday of the month already.
Jeez.
We get so confused with everything because we pre-record a fair bit when we can. So it's like you're like, okay, what episode is this about? When is it coming out? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
At some point.
And then we'll be like, okay, it's the second week of the month. No, third week. Oops.
Oh, shit. Yeah. So this is the last week of November. Oh, by the time you guys are hearing this, oh boy. And so to wrap things up, because we got, well, it looks like a few anyway, big fantasy releases this month. This one, we were pre-planning the month, got us thinking a little bit about kind of where we're at. I guess like doing another episode, coming back to where we're at in the fantasy space right now. Was sort of just an overview about certain things and trying to dig into a little bit why some series just seem to blow up compared to others that I've not quite been able to wrap my mind around yet, you know?
Yeah, and like, you know, I guess we could kind of chalk it up to preference, personal preference. Yeah. But at the same time, there is a clear, you know, there are clear standouts.
True.
There are clear, you know, series that are favored over others.
Oh, God, yeah.
So we're going to discuss all of that. Yeah. But before we do, Megan, what's on your nightstand?
So I finished like a few books recently. I'm heading into an ARC that I'll probably talk about at a later date for the month that I'm going to be reading in the month of November. And I was finishing up sort of like some of my spookier reads for like end of October. So I shoved like a thriller in there. So I actually read The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose.
Oh, I read that one too.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
You didn't like it at all?
I didn't like the writing style of it.
Yeah, it was, I get that.
Yeah, wasn't a big fan. And I hated Adam. I was like, oh, fuck this guy. Like I was, yeah.
Yeah, well... Did you like the ending?
Kind of, yeah. But also it was very abrupt.
It was.
Honestly, a lot of it didn't make sense.
I agree. When I read it, like all the way through, I was kind of like, this is okay. Yeah. Like it's not like I'm devouring it page for page. Like it took me a hot minute to finish that one. And then I was like, okay, this ended weirdly. And then there was like, you know, the last like 3 pages. And I was like, holy shit. But otherwise, it kind of didn't really make sense. There was a lot of plot holes with the ending, and
that was my bigger issue.
Yeah.
I think. So wasn't a huge fan of that. Probably don't want to read the follow up that came out this year.
Oh, there was a follow. No, I wouldn't bother.
Yeah. Anyway, and then I also just recently finished a horror movie by Paul Tremblay, who is quite a big author in the horror space. He's famously written like A Head Full of Ghosts, Cabin at the End of the World, which became Knock at the Cabin, which was an M. Night Shyamalan film that came out last year. God, he's got a few others. I think Survivor's Song is his as well. He's got a number of novels, and he's a lot bigger in the horror space. I liked horror movie if you're somebody who's comfortable with like different sorts of narrative styles, because it is talking about like a film that was sort of like a lost film from a number of years prior that's getting like a remake now. So you get a lot of bits of scenery of a screenplay style script that shows like what the original screenplay was and how everything was written initially. So it was good. I didn't love it because I guess I felt like the pacing was a little too slow for me. It took a little too long to get started. But yeah, overall, I would say like it was an enjoyable read. It was creepy. Like the idea of this film itself that was lost is like pretty scary. I feel like if they made a movie out of this, it would be like, it would be atmospheric. Like it would be pretty effective. I get the feeling. So yeah, I'm headed into the sort of rest of the year. I've got like a few ARCs that we've been fortunate enough to receive, which is really lovely. So yeah, I'm going to be jumping into that kind of thing coming up. What about you?
So the other day, my husband came home and had bought me a book, which he doesn't really do very often.
No way.
But I think he saw the cover of this one and was like, oh, this is definitely something Shirin would read.
Yeah.
So it's The Irresistible Urge to Fall for Your Enemy by Brigitte Knightley. This is a fan fiction, is my understanding, originally.
I think it was inspired by, it's like a Harry Potter inspiration, Hermione Draco thing.
That's right. And then, so I actually didn't know anything about this before he showed up with it.
Oh, yeah.
And I started looking into it, and I'm like, ooh, there's been a bit of controversy about this. Understandably.
It's been a weird year for, and this is part of even what we can chat about today, but it's been a weird year for some controversial releases of Harry Potter inspired fiction.
Yes.
So this novel as well as Alchemized.
Yes.
Jesus, I feel like I've not stopped hearing about that. And I don't think I have the bandwidth to get into like a full discussion about it. I will say I've not read it.
Yeah.
So also, anything that's even like, especially in the more popular space, it takes me ages to actually pick up most of these books and read them in the first place. I don't feel like I have much skin in the game. And eventually, I find with like a lot of the unhappy sorts of like feelings that people have about a lot of these things, I feel like if we continue down the road we're going on, I'm like, boy, you can't read anything anymore, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Like, again, my husband bought it for me. I wouldn't have, because I do not anymore believe in giving money to anything Harry Potter adjacent.
Yeah.
Which is tragic because, like, I was, like, your number one Harry Potter fan.
Yeah,
for the longest time. But,
like we were both very big fans, but for you, I feel like it's on, like, a really particular level.
Oh, yeah, big time. And, for me, inclusion is much bigger than, a love of Harry Potter. Mm-hmm. And I just think that J.K. Rowling is a piece of shit for everything she's been doing. So
yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate to have gotten to this point where it's really ruined like childhood memories for a lot of people, which is shitty.
I mean, maybe she should have just read her own series, like, because then that way she would have understood that it's important to love each other and be kind to each other and not cast somebody out based on,
anything about
them. Yep. As long as they're a good enough person.
Absolutely.
Anyway, whatever. We could talk about this all night.
I know.
Anywho, shall we get into it?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So I feel like a lot of the reason that we decided to have this conversation in the first place is that we were looking at upcoming releases, and we saw that by the time you guys are hearing this episode, as of November 18th, Callie Hart's Brimstone, her follow-up to Quicksilver, will have been published.
Woohoo!
So, arguably, one of the most massive releases in the fantasy space in the last probably couple of years. Quicksilver, it came out in December of last year, of 2024, and it absolutely exploded.
Yes, it was huge.
I could not get away from it.
Yeah.
I did read it, again, a number of months later, because that's really what I do. I'm not fussed about picking things up the day they come out and reading them immediately. I never have been. Even if I do pick it up really early, I guarantee it's not my next read. It just never happens. I never do it. I'm always that person who's like, must have it. And then I get it. And then I'm like, maybe I'll read it in 6 months. We'll see.
Yeah, trying to get her to read A Court of Thorns and Roses with a
Oh, that was its own thing. I'm not done yet.
She's still not done. I'm like, just finish the series.
I still haven't read A Court of Silver Flames. Anyway.
I forgot about this. I thought you were done. Now I'm mad again.
I'm not done. This is very funny. I feel like this makes it more entertaining for me. Anyway,
she does it on purpose.
I
just
do not
to, like, put me through.
I
it.
don't. But I am probably one of my biggest reading qualities is I am a mood reader. You cannot. I cannot make a TBR. I cannot give myself that kind of thing, and it doesn't matter what time of year it is. I need to be in a particular mood for a particular story, and when I get there and I'm into it and I really want to read it, I devour it. I get through the entire book in 3 days, and I'm thrilled about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm just waiting for the day that you're going to be like, oh, I just finished A Court of Silver Flames.
Oh, yeah.
It was great. I think it was my favorite one in the series.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, Rah!
It'll probably happen at some point, and that's fine. But, that's it. Just with all of that, we were thinking about it when we started sort of chatting for this, coming up with this episode, because we were like, okay, so Brimstone's coming out. That one's going to be absolutely massive. And then it kind of got us chatting a little bit about the idea, like, what is it? Is there like a magic formula? Because let's be real. High fantasy series, romantasy series are a dime a dozen at this point.
There's so many of them. I can't even keep up.
I feel as though every single week of a calendar year, there is a new one that is released.
There's at least 4.
Agreed.
In a week.
It's crazy. And so it got us kind of thinking about things, and we were like, is there a specific reason that some do so much better than others? Mm-hmm. Is it just luck of the draw? Is it good marketing? Is it
good writing?
Is it the plot? Is it the characters? Is it the world building?
Is it the cover art is better? Is it the sprayed edges are nicer on some of them?
Well, maybe for a couple, but that wasn't a thing when some of these other ones super duper blew up and became popular. So I'm genuinely not sure. And I feel like at the end of this episode, I still might not have an answer.
No, but we can talk about it.
Yeah. So with the release of Brimstone, we were saying, you were taking a look and saying, I think there's another Zodiac Academy coming out this month as well.
Yep. Number 8.5.
Okay, so that'll be happening too. Zodiac Academy is like its own world that I don't have the time or patience to even look into. I don't want to have to read
vast.
I don't want to have to read a manual to understand what order I need to read things in. That's not enjoyable anymore for me. It's just not for me. It might be for some people. Some people might really get into that. It's not for me.
That's fair. I mean, there's... it's funny because I pulled up the Indigo app. So Indigo is for anybody listening who's not from Canada, they are pretty much our biggest bookstore, I suppose, chain. So I pulled up their app just to see how they're presenting all these types of novels. And they've actually divided their trending on BookTok section into dark academia and romantasy.
So
that just goes to show how popular this is right now.
But also, and this is something that I think is slowly starting to happen. Mm-hmm. We're at the point where basically at this point, fantasy and romantasy are one and the same. And
that bothers me to no end. I grew up loving, obviously I mentioned it just now, like Harry Potter,
Lord of the Rings.
You're a
huge Tolkien fan.
I am still a huge Tolkien fan. I studied it at university.
Yeah.
I could list a ton of like different like high fantasy series that I would have read way back when. Like you can even look at like Stephen King's Dark Towers series. Oh God, yeah. There's what's his name? Is it Eric Larson? He's got a whole series. Anyway, there's so much high fantasy. And Sword of Shannara, that was another one.
Oh yeah,
that was a big one.
The Shannara Chronicles.
Yeah, the Shannara Chronicles. There are so many, and now we've kind of morphed into this like factory of like publishing fantasy books every month. And I'm not against it because hey, I'm not going to yuck someone else's yum. And the other thing is like there's arguably some really great stuff that's coming out 100%. In this mix. But it's now getting really difficult to wade through, A, what's really excellent and what's not, because there's so much and everybody's got different tastes.
Yeah.
But B, it's all sex. It's all about the sex in the plots. And I'm getting tired of it personally. I'm just like, I need to skip through it a lot of the time because I'm like, again, I'm not going to yuck somebody else's yum. Mm-hmm. Like if that's your thing, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I need my fantasy to have a bit of a division with the spice.
I feel like I can understand for a lot of people when people are specifying in descriptions of books, they're like, this is plot heavy spice, which means that you get a lot of plot, and there are scenes of sexual nature that are thrown in there. That's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I feel as though at this point, and like, you know, you're much more like on the high fantasy bandwagon than me. Yeah. I read some smut. Like, I read
a lot more than I do.
So much.
Like sometimes some subjects will come up, and I'm like, I have no idea what this is.
And I do.
And Megan's like, well, I read about it. And I'm like, what?
I'm like, oh, yeah, so I read this book or this series of books, and like, this is all about this. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's a real thing. Anyway, I learned things. But anyway, so I read a lot of smut. And I have no issue with that, but I feel like maybe I'm at the point where when I'm picking up the smut, that's what I expect it to be, and that's what I want. Yeah. If I'm picking up a high fantasy, if there's a romance in it, I have no issue with that.
Fine.
Of course
like,
not.
The romance is fine.
But at the same time, I do like the idea of like, oh wow, like I've picked up this high fantasy, so yeah, I want that big world building aspect. I want this epic battle. I want these really interesting characters with special abilities potentially and different things like that.
And like the culture wars between the characters and stuff. Yeah.
You know, and so if I pick up a high fantasy sometimes and it's either like, you know, like a subtle romance or it's not really something that's discussed as much, or it's not maybe like the main focus of the story, I'm happy with that.
Right.
And but I feel as though because of like a lot of what is popular right now, maybe a lot of people don't feel that way.
It could be. Like, I'd be very curious how, like, the general audience population is feeling right now about, like, this abundance of spicy romantasy.
Yeah.
Because sometimes, like, I'm reading a book and, like, I just get annoyed at this point.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God. Like, you know, I can't tell you how many times people have suggested, like, Jennifer Armentrout to me.
Oh, right.
And I pulled up one of her books and I was like, I can't get through this book because there's just not, like, any plot. Now, again, she's very popular. She is very popular. Huge. She has a lot of novels that come out, a lot of series. And so I think going back to your point, if you're going to pick it up with the knowledge that this is most of the plot.
Yeah.
It's like, yep, okay, that's fine.
Cool.
That's your spicy romantasy. But, like, I'm finding it difficult personally to find, like, your old school high fantasy.
Yeah, like the things like newly being published that are outside of that realm and that fall back into that like slightly older high fantasy in which you got all the world building, you got all the plot, you got all the characters, which again are very similar to the modern ones that you're seeing now. You just removed like the heavy influx of sex scenes from that. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the difference.
That's the difference, you know? And like if I were to, you know, based on what we're talking about today, like what makes something popular, what doesn't. If I were to look at like Sarah Maas, who's like arguably one of like the most popular fantasy writers right now.
I think it's between her and Rebecca Yarros.
I think so. I think like at this point, like the fandoms between these two authors are like bananas. And I love both of these series.
It's a little scary. Yeah.
If I look at like Sarah Maas, her 3 series that she has, so Throne of Glass is very high fantasy.
Yes.
And there's very little like spice.
Yeah, I know you mentioned there are love stories between characters, but it's not like super on page like a lot of
like
open door stuff.
There's a few moments of it where you're like, oh, okay, like that's happening.
Yeah.
But it's not what the plot is about. Okay. If I look at A Court of Thorns and Roses, there's a lot more spice in there. Heavy on the spice, especially like you just mentioned, you haven't read Silver Flames yet. That one's very heavy on the spice. Very, very, very.
Yeah.
What I liked about Crescent City is that was going back more to we're world building, we're talking about the plot, the battles, you know, and so yes, there is some spice, but very little compared to all the other ones, you know, and so I'm like, this is great because for me personally, if I were to describe to you what makes a series more popular is about the characters, the world building, and the writing style. Yeah. So that's why I like, Rebecca Yarros has more spice in hers compared to some other authors.
She does, yeah.
But I found that as we're getting through her series, we're getting away from the spice as
luckily,
much.
I mean, I will say luckily that
And I'm not a prude. Just out there.
Should I just like to throw that out?
Putting that out there. I'm not a prude. I'm not against sex scenes in books. My whole thing is like, can we just have more plot?
Can the plot not be sex?
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, if I pick up an erotic novel that happens to be fantasy coded, then
sure.
fine.
I'm kind of expecting that at that point. Like, those ones make way more sense.
I think my beef is when I pick up a series thinking it's going to be a high fantasy series and it's just an erotic novel, basically.
Yeah. No, it's understandable. I get it. And it's just, I guess I just find that I feel like I wish I could figure out the magic sort of formula that exists. But I feel like between like what we're seeing being published on a regular basis now, it does seem to be that like that is the upward trend that we're on. I do believe it'll probably die down a little bit at some point. And we will get a little bit of both. I think the thing is, it would just be nice if some other high fantasy series that are being published, standalones, series, whatever you would like to call them, are being published that are a little less heavy on the spice side of things, got as much promotion.
I agree.
If they're well-written, like good novels, and I'm sure there are tons of them.
So many of them.
You know, but I do feel bad for, like, you know, writers for whom, like, that's not their style and they don't feel the need to pander to, like, oh, that's what's popular right now.
Well, like, I put myself in that, like, that mindset. I'm like, if I were to sit down and say to myself, I'm going to write, like, a fantasy series, I would probably kind of, it might not be very good, but I'd be like, okay, like, I can kind of, you know, come up with a plot or whatever.
Sure.
But if I were to sit down and try and write a sex scene, that's kind of hard to do.
Oh, it's very hard
if you're
to do.
trying to do it like kind of different to what has been done already.
Yeah, and I mean also, but look, also we're speaking about these. Both Rebecca Yarros and Callie Hart were romance writers primarily prior to making the shift into the fantasy space.
Yeah.
Both of them were Rebecca Yarros. I've seen a bunch of the covers. I've never read any of them. I'm sorry. Then they're very like sappy sort of military romances.
They're all military,
and stuff.
I believe.
And Callie Hart is a dark romance author.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, which, you know, does come through in a bit of the physical scenes.
It does, yeah.
In Quicksilver, particularly towards the end of the novel, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but like most of the spice that I've read, unless it's like one of these like quite shocking ones.
Sure.
Like, what was that? The Haunting of Adeline or something?
Oh, Haunting of Adeline, yeah. But Haunting of Adeline, those are like their own really particular ones. And I believe that the style of them and like the type of dark romance that they are, it's extremely understandable why for a lot of people would be like, ew, what the fuck is this? It's completely understandable. They're very dark.
Right. And so, where was I going? What did I start saying here?
You've lost it.
A point here.
I mean, in that sense, like,
right,
yeah.
Unless there's like something that stands out a lot. Like I remember, Allie Hazelwood's Bride when that came out.
Senora.
There was a lot about the whole werewolf thing,
the shifter thing,
right?
The Omegaverse
Correct.
is what you're thinking.
So, like, aside from things that are gonna like
the second one's out now. Sorry,
Right.
Mate is
out.
I haven't gotten around to reading it yet, but it's out. It came out in October. Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But my whole point is that like if you're gonna write like just kind of like a run of the mill sex scene, I'm finding them a little repetitive. You know?
I mean, yeah, it's normal. No, and I mean, I find, and like, you know, I like, because that's it. I have said it. Like, I find at this point, I'm like, if I want to read like a dark romance thing, I'll just read dark romance. But I find when I do, at this point too, I've read a bunch of them. I can never fully get on board with the ones that like are taking themselves super seriously.
Right. Yeah.
I gotta read the ones that have some comedy in them. It's why like I can't bring a few of them. I've like started them and I'm like, nope, this is insane. I'm like, these people, this guy is horrible. Like he's actually a predator. It's terrifying. You know, I can't.
I can change him.
Oh no, I can't do it. I need my darker romance to skew towards the comedic.
Yeah.
Which is why, like I've said, I love Brynne Weaver's stuff so much. Partially because also like it's only quote unquote dark romance because the characters are serial killers. Nobody's like chaining each other up in a basement and like kidnapping them each other and like forcing them to fall in love with them. They have a generally like very actually all three of her Ruinous Love trilogy books have like these really lovely stories that develop between these characters, and you're like, oh, this is so nice. You know, so but I love that because they're also like it's about a couple of serial killers falling in love, and they're like very funny about it and charming and Irish, which like that helps. But you know,
the Irish helps.
The Irish well, if you listen to the audiobooks, the Irish accent helps.
I really do need to do that.
Yeah, they're great. They're in like duet narration.
Oh yeah.
Oh, So
Okay.
good. Those are great. I know her new novel, Tourist Season, that came out has gotten a ton of hype. Apparently it is fantastic. People loved it. I cannot wait to read it.
So there you go.
I can't wait. It's going to be great.
so like some authors really nail it in their like subgenre of this.
Yeah. And like, like Nevessa Allen is a huge one. She wrote Lights Out, Caught Up, which was her second one that came out this year. And I think she's got the third in her like Lights Out trilogy that's coming out, I believe, in 2026, if I'm not mistaken. That one, again, also particularly lights out the first one. I know for a lot of people it is like their be-all end-all of dark romance because it has really heavy subject matter in it and a lot of like, ridiculous things going on that you're like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But also the banter between the two characters, and particularly the male main character, is so fucking funny. God, he's so funny.
See, the charm helps, right?
He's so funny. It's like, you're like, man, I shouldn't be charmed by someone who's sort of cyber stalking a person because he's like become obsessed with her and really wants to like spend time around her and stuff. But he really fucking pulls it off. She knows how to write a character who is both technically dangerous, but also like a big old cinnamon roll golden retriever. And I think that's really what women like, to be fair. They're like, could kill you, but is a cinnamon roll. Is like...
could kill you, but doesn't kill me.
No. Like at all.
We're a little weird, aren't we?
So, so I find like those are the things that like work for me. When you get into the too serious side of things, I'm like, now you've lost me now.
And I think maybe that's what I've come across so far that I'm just not into.
Yeah.
So what would you say, Megan? Like, what do you think? 'Cause you mentioned like this magic formula to say that like some series are more popular than others, and we've mentioned that there's new fantasy releases every week now, like sometimes 4 a week. Like, what do you think is the magic formula?
I don't know that there's a perfect one necessarily. However, I will say that I do believe that exactly kind of what you have brought up, there needs to be a good balance between the plot, the world building, actual character development, along with the romantic aspects, spicy or no. There needs to be those. And to be fair, again, due to like these high fantasy books tend to be like quite long, like they're lengthy books, so that gives you an opportunity to get into the world. So I could say, I'm like, well, that could be part of the reason that Sarah Moss's universes are so popular, that Rebecca Yarros has created something that's like, feels very overarching, right? Like the universe and the world that she's created feels like you are a part of it when you're reading the books. And in Callie Hart's case as well, I've read Quicksilver, and I will say like there is a pretty hefty amount of understanding that you have to have of the world that they're in prior to a lot of other aspects of the story kicking off. So I wonder if to an extent it's just maybe a few authors here and there who have managed to strike the right balance.
Yeah. And I will say, like, if I kind of just hook on to the 3 authors that you just mentioned, because I have also read, like, all of their books, basically. Sarah Moss has an excellent writing style, and that's what captivates me in her books.
Rebecca Yarros is the world building, I feel.
Actually, Rebecca Yarros for me is the characters.
Really?
And Callie Hart has
the world building.
She has a very interesting world. But Rebecca Yarros, her characters...
It's the dragons.
It's the dragons, but the banter between them.
Dude,
like, Riddick is hilarious.
Oh God, he's so fucking funny.
And like him with his dragon, and, just between the characters.
And like even like between... all of the different like people, like whether they're like nice or not, the different characters, like what's her friend's name? Rhiannon. I love Rhiannon. I think
lovely.
She's so fun.
Yeah. And to be fair, like people don't come at me. Like I do love the characters in the ACOTAR universe. Sure. Like of course we love Rhys and all of his bad boys. You know,
like Rhys and Cassian and stuff like that. Yes, they're wonderful.
Awesome.
We know.
But there's just something about the way that Rebecca Yarros has like the interactions between her characters.
I think it has more of a lightheartedness.
It does
to it a bit, because it's people like giving each other shit a lot of the time.
And like you could argue that what Yarros did was she took the kind of interactions between like Rhys, Cassian, and Azriel, and the way they are, their banter, and she kind of like expanded on it for all of her characters.
Yeah, to make them, because also, you know, keep in mind as well, right, that in the cases of things like A Court of Thorns and Roses, all of the Fae characters are hundreds of years old, whereas technically in Fourth Wing, these are all college-age students.
Correct.
They're all in their early 20s.
Correct. So they're kind of all like YOLO,
They have to talk to each other like they're in their early 20s.
Exactly.
Like Xaden and Riddick and Bodhi and stuff. Like, they have to talk to each other like they're in their early 20s.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Like, she does a good job of that.
Yeah.
And, you know, again, the dragons for sure help.
True.
For sure help, you know?
Yeah.
Talking dragons.
Oh, God, they're so great. Everybody's just kind of like, I want to marry Xaden. I'm like, I'd like to marry Taryn. But sure.
I've started giving my dog Taryn's voice when he's talking about the baby.
That's funny.
It highly amuses me. It's like, I just kind of put myself in the situation of like, what would Taryn say?
What would Taryn say about
And like
this?
Ozzy just kind of looks at the baby sometimes and it's like, is the child making noise again?
But he's very protective.
He
so
is,
really,
yeah.
it's kind of like the baby's Andarna.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that there's much more to say about that's it, like an understanding of it, because honestly, we also don't work in the publishing world, so maybe we'll never know.
We might
and
not.
Maybe in some cases, it's just a fluke.
It could be. And, you know, we did mention like authors like R.F.
Kwan, yeah.
Who wrote a number of very popular novels, and they're all in the fantasy space, and I believe they're standalones for the most part.
Well, she has her Poppy War series,
That's
which
right.
I think is a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken.
And then there's Babel.
Babel is a standalone. The new one that was published this year, Catabasis, is also more of a standalone Dark Academia style one. I think her only step outside of the more fantastical-ish space is probably Yellowface. That was one that was not, my understanding is not like that at all, so.
Yeah, but and you know, like the last point I'll make is that I've also read like fantasy books recently, and I'll give you the example of The Wren in the Holly Library.
Oh, yeah.
There was no need for any spice in that book.
Oh.
There was no need for it.
Like you were
it
like,
didn't
this actually doesn't
add
have to be here. Yeah.
And it almost felt out of place in
Okay.
some ways. And so, like, I'm finding that, like, has it become a situation where authors are kind of putting spice in because that's what they think is going to...
But I also wouldn't be surprised if
resonate or
publishers and editors
are suggesting
and recommending this in order for them to gain any traction with their releases. I wouldn't be
wonder.
surprised. Yeah.
I wonder.
So I wonder if at some point, you know, we'll shift gears a little bit, move back into something else.
We're going to go fully back into a time where we spend 5 pages describing a doorknob on a Hobbit door.
Maybe. We might get there, and then we'll veer back around again.
Exactly.
These things are cyclical.
They are.
So.
Well, yeah, I mean, next, I was just thinking about it actually because, like, you know, Suzanne Collins released, you know, Sunrise on the Reaping.
Oh, yeah.
Which is more of a dystopian.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, at that time when Hunger Games came out, we were all about the dystopian.
Oh, God. Yeah.
We could enter a phase of, like, spicy dystopian.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Like, that might be the next cycle, and I would not be surprised.
I would not be shocked by that at all, so we'll have to stay tuned
But then there's
for the...
so many other thoughts, because you're like, if it's a dystopia and you don't have soap.
Ew!
Oh my God. A dystopia. Wow.
Oh, we're all tired in this house today.
Oh, I'm funny. Go away.
Oh, God. Anyway, yeah, look, we're wrapping up November. Those are just kind of like our thoughts on this for now. Can we get deeper into certain, even very specific series, very specific authors, very specific inspirations for things? Yes. But also... doom scrolling on TikTok at this point is just like something that I need to get myself fully out of.
Well, because then it becomes difficult to keep up with what's popular because you don't want to do the doom scrolling, so you stop going on TikTok, and then you're like, well, now I have no idea what's popular.
Yeah. Which I'm not too sad about. I won't lie.
No, I mean, I never know what's popular.
No, I know.
I ask you.
I know.
I'm like, I like the cover of this one.
Is it good? I don't know. Read it.
Read it.
Yeah, anyway, we'll be kind of working on, I don't know, all kinds of different stuff over the month of December, just for fun for the holiday season, wrapping things up, talking about maybe some upcoming stuff, talking about things that we didn't have a chance to get into earlier in the year, and hopefully just, that's it, kind of like doing our usual like wrap up of our top reads, all that kind of stuff. That'll be coming your way in the month of December, and maybe touching on some newer things that are coming out around that time. So yeah.
Cool beans.
Yeah. You can keep up with all of it, obviously, on our socials at Fully Booked CA. So Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Blue Sky, all of the places. You can just search there and you will find us. But until next week, guys, keep on reading.
Thanks, everyone.
Llegó Black Friday a The Home Depot, o sea que ya es hora de dejar tu casa lista para todas las fiestas que se vienen.
¡Oh, oh, oh!
Hoy mismo puedes escoger entre nuestra gran variedad de arbolitos preiluminados por menos de $99 y gracias a su sistema de conexión rápida y armado fácil, podrás pasar más tiempo disfrutando de la temporada. Encuentra todo lo que necesitas para llenar tu casa de espíritu navideño en la tienda o por internet. No te pierdas Black Friday en The Home Depot.